The data terminal hummed with a quiet intensity that matched Dr. Elena Rodriguez's rising excitement. Her fingers traced the complex algorithms scrolling across multiple screens, each display revealing fragments of a puzzle that no one else had noticed. Outside the reinforced windows of the Orion Observatory, the night sky seemed to hold its breath. What began as a routine analysis of stellar background radiation had transformed into something extraordinary. Most of her colleagues would have dismissed the anomalies as statistical noise, but Elena knew better. The patterns were too consistent, too deliberate to be random. She had spent years developing an advanced signal recognition system that could detect subtle communication patterns across vast electromagnetic spectrums. The system was originally designed for deep space research, but now it was revealing something far more intriguing. Buried within the cosmic background were micropatterns that suggested an intentional information transfer, signals that were carefully masked to appear like natural stellar interference. Elena remembered the skepticism she had faced when first proposing her research. The astronomical community had laughed, calling her theories nothing more than speculative fiction. Traditional SETI researchers had been looking for loud, obvious signals, while she understood that advanced civilizations would likely communicate through methods far more nuanced and sophisticated. Her current research team was small but exceptional. Dr. Marcus Chen, a quantum communication expert from Stanford, had been the first to validate her initial findings. His background in advanced encryption and information theory provided the critical bridge between astronomical observation and potential communication technologies. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo, a brilliant linguistic anthropologist from the University of Cape Town, brought another crucial perspective. Her work on pattern recognition in historical communication systems suggested that what appeared random could actually be a complex language waiting to be deciphered. The team's youngest member, Kai Nakamura, was a computational genius who had developed machine learning algorithms capable of identifying patterns beyond human perception. At just 27, he had already revolutionized how complex datasets were analyzed, and his enthusiasm matched Elena's unwavering determination. Their workspace was a carefully designed research hub, funded through a combination of international scientific grants and private innovation funds. Located in a remote section of the Orion Observatory complex, it was deliberately isolated to minimize external interference and maximize concentration. Elena pulled up a holographic display, rotating the data streams to reveal their three-dimensional structure. The patterns were unlike anything she had seen before. They didn't resemble traditional radio signals or electromagnetic waves. Instead, they seemed to be encoded in a way that suggested intelligence, but an intelligence fundamentally different from human communication. "Marcus, take a look at this," she called out, her voice steady despite the growing excitement. Dr. Chen approached, his eyes narrowing as he studied the display. "These aren't natural formations," he muttered, more to himself than to Elena. "The probability of these patterns occurring randomly is less than 1 in several trillion." Kai's fingers were already flying across his keyboard, running complex verification algorithms. "The signal maintains structural integrity across multiple observation windows," he reported. "It's not degrading like background radiation typically would." Dr. Okonkwo joined them, her linguistic expertise providing another layer of analysis. "The repetitive structures suggest a form of communication," she observed, "but not like any language we've encountered before." What they didn't know, what they couldn't yet understand, was that they were on the precipice of humanity's most significant discovery. The signals they were analyzing were not just random cosmic noise. They were a carefully constructed message, waiting to be understood. A message that would change everything humanity knew about its place in the universe. The first step of a journey that would transform human civilization had just begun, hidden in the quiet intensity of a research facility, watched over by a team who dared to look beyond the obvious and imagine the extraordinary. The global research network emerged not from a single grand plan, but through a series of carefully orchestrated connections. What appeared to be independent research projects were actually threads of a much larger tapestry, woven together by a vision that transcended national boundaries and institutional limitations. In Tokyo, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka developed quantum communication algorithms that could compress vast amounts of information into microscopic data packets. His breakthrough seemed purely theoretical to most observers, but it was a critical piece of a much larger puzzle. Across the world in Sao Paulo, Dr. Mariana Silva was creating adaptive learning systems that could process and interpret complex, nonlinear communication patterns. The collaboration began subtly. A shared research paper here, a conference video call there. Each scientist believed they were working on independent projects, unaware of the larger network taking shape. This deliberate decentralization was both a strategic choice and a natural evolution of global scientific cooperation. The United Nations Science Collaboration Initiative provided the initial framework, though few understood its true potential. What started as a program to share research across international boundaries had become something far more significant. Dr. Rodriguez's team from the Orion Observatory had become a central node in this global network, carefully connecting researchers who showed promise in specific areas of advanced communication and adaptive intelligence. Kai Nakamura's machine learning algorithms played a crucial role. He had developed a sophisticated matching system that could identify researchers working on complementary projects, even if their fields seemed entirely unrelated. The system worked like an invisible hand, guiding collaboration without direct intervention. In a nondescript research facility in Nairobi, Dr. James Odhiambo was developing biomimetic communication models inspired by complex ecological systems. His work on how ant colonies and bacterial networks communicate seemed far removed from space research. Yet his algorithms became a critical component in understanding potential nonlinear communication systems. Meanwhile, Dr. Elena Rodriguez continued to analyze the mysterious signals from space. The patterns they had discovered defied traditional understanding of communication. They weren't simple radio waves or electromagnetic transmissions. Instead, they resembled something more akin to adaptive, living information, patterns that could change and respond in ways that challenged everything humans understood about communication. The team's breakthrough came during a strategic video conference that included researchers from 37 different nations. Dr. Marcus Chen presented a radical theory. The signals they were studying might be a form of distributed intelligence, more similar to how biological systems communicate than to traditional technological transmissions. Imagine communication not as a linear process, he explained, his holographic projection filling the conference room, but as a dynamic, adaptive network. Each piece of information doesn't just carry a message. It can evolve, respond, and integrate with its environment. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo added her linguistic perspective. It's like comparing an ancient written language to a living, breathing conversation. These signals aren't just transmitting information. They're potentially creating context, adapting in real time. The implications were staggering. If they were correct, humanity was on the cusp of understanding a fundamentally different form of communication, one that could revolutionize everything from technological infrastructure to how societies interact and share knowledge. Funding began to flow from unexpected sources. Technological companies, governmental research institutes, and private innovation funds saw the potential. What appeared to be a speculative research project was becoming something much more significant. By the end of the year, the global research network had grown into a sophisticated, interconnected system. Researchers who had never met were now working toward a common goal, sharing insights through carefully developed secure communication channels. None of them fully understood the true nature of what they were investigating, but they shared a common belief. Something extraordinary was waiting to be discovered, something that would fundamentally change humanity's understanding of communication, intelligence, and its place in the universe. The whispers of potential were growing louder, and soon they would become a conversation that would echo across the stars. The alien probe entered Earth's distant orbital parameters on a seemingly ordinary Tuesday morning. To most of the world, it was just another piece of celestial machinery drifting through the solar system. But for Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team, it represented something far more significant. The Galactic Confederation's Standard Survey Probe, designated XR 729, carried advanced scanning technologies that had mapped thousands of star systems. Its approach was routine, its mission unremarkable. The probe's sophisticated sensors were designed to collect baseline data about planetary systems, typically spending mere milliseconds scanning each region before moving on. What the probe's designers never anticipated was the team waiting for its arrival. In the carefully isolated research facility at the Orion Observatory, a network of custom-built quantum receivers hummed with anticipation. Kai Nakamura's adaptive algorithms had been running continuous simulations for months, predicting potential communication strategies that could pierce the probe's advanced encryption systems. 30 seconds to primary scan window, Dr. Marcus Chen announced, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface. The room felt charged with an electricity that had nothing to do with their electronic equipment. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo stood near a secondary monitoring station, her eyes fixed on a series of complex pattern recognition displays. "Remember," she cautioned the team, "we're not just trying to capture data. We're attempting to understand an entirely different communication paradigm." The probe's scanning sequence began precisely as predicted. Most planetary defense systems would have registered nothing more than a brief electromagnetic pulse. But the team's custom-built receiver was something entirely different. A quantum entanglement network that could interact with the probe's systems in ways no traditional technology could manage. Kai's algorithm struck first. It wasn't a traditional hack or data breach. Instead, it was a sophisticated communication protocol that mimicked and then subtly manipulated the probe's own communication frequencies. Like a linguistic chameleon, the system adapted, creating a data pathway that would appear completely natural to the probe's security systems. "We're in," Kai muttered, his voice a mixture of concentration and barely contained excitement. The data transfer happened in less than 3 seconds. Volumes of information that would have taken years to decode using traditional methods flooded their systems. Star charts, communication protocols, technological specifications, and fragments of galactic diplomatic records, all extracted without triggering any alarm systems. Dr. Rodriguez watched the data streams with a sense of profound understanding. This wasn't just about collecting information. It was about demonstrating humanity's potential for adaptive intelligence. "The probe won't even realize what happened," Dr. Chen observed, a note of professional admiration in his voice. "It will continue its mission, completely unaware that it has just been thoroughly examined." The collected data was more than just technical specifications. It was a comprehensive overview of galactic civilization, its technological capabilities, communication structures, and diplomatic networks. Fragments of alien languages, technological patents, and interstellar communication protocols now resided in their carefully secured data systems. What made the extraction truly remarkable was its completeness and subtlety. Traditional interception would have left traces, triggered defensive mechanisms. But this was different. Their method was so sophisticated that it resembled natural data flow, indistinguishable from the probe's routine operations. Hours after the probe passed, analysis began. Dr. Okonkwo's linguistic algorithms started decoding communication patterns, while Kai's machine learning systems began constructing comprehensive models of alien technological approaches. "We're not just collecting data," Dr. Rodriguez explained to her team. "We're learning how to think like them, and beyond them." The implications were staggering. In those few seconds of interaction, humanity had gained more insight into galactic civilization than decades of traditional research could have provided. More importantly, they had done so without raising any suspicions. As the team celebrated their breakthrough, none of them fully understood the true magnitude of what they had accomplished. This was more than a successful data extraction. It was humanity's first true step into a larger, more complex universe. The unexpected signal had been received, and the galaxy would never be the same. The diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Confederation descended into Earth's atmosphere with the usual mixture of clinical precision and bureaucratic arrogance. Ambassador Zara Lin, a senior diplomatic officer of the Vextal species, expected a routine first contact scenario. Decades of galactic exploration had taught their diplomatic corps to anticipate predictable responses from emerging civilizations. Their initial communication protocols were meticulously designed. A standard greeting transmission, followed by a carefully constructed message that had successfully initiated first contact with hundreds of developing species across the galaxy. The universal translator hummed with confidence, ready to decode and simplify human language into comprehensible patterns. What happened next defied every expectation. The human response arrived before the diplomatic vessel had completed its standard approach vector. Not only was the message perfectly translated, but it was delivered with a linguistic and cultural nuance that suggested decades of preparation. Dr. Elena Rodriguez led the human diplomatic team, a carefully selected group representing the most diverse and intellectually powerful minds on the planet. She stood at the center of the global communication hub, her team surrounding her like a living network of expertise. Greetings, Galactic Confederation. The message began. We appreciate the opportunity for meaningful dialogue. Ambassador Zara Lin's translation systems momentarily glitched. The message wasn't just translated. It was crafted with an understanding of diplomatic subtleties that suggested intimate knowledge of galactic communication protocols. Dr. Marcus Chen managed the technical aspects of the communication, his quantum communication systems working in perfect synchronization with the alien transmission frequencies. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo provided cultural and linguistic insights, ensuring every nuance was perfectly calibrated. Kai Nakamura's adaptive language algorithms worked in real time, creating a communication interface that was simultaneously respectful, informative, and subtly complex. Each word was chosen with mathematical precision, revealing just enough information to intrigue without exposing vulnerability. The human team had spent years preparing for this moment. Their understanding came not just from the intercepted probe data, but from a comprehensive approach to galactic civilization. They had studied communication patterns, diplomatic protocols, and cultural nuances from multiple alien civilizations. We recognize the extraordinary nature of this moment. The message continued, and we approach our potential galactic integration with both humility and careful consideration. Ambassador Zara Lin's diplomatic advisors were stunned. Emerging civilizations typically responded with either terrified confusion or aggressive posturing. This response was something entirely different, a measured, intelligent engagement that suggested deep preparation. The communication revealed layers of understanding that went far beyond simple language translation. The humans demonstrated knowledge of complex galactic political structures, technological development trajectories, and diplomatic etiquette that suggested years of careful study. Dr. Rodriguez deliberately included subtle references to diplomatic challenges in other star systems, showing a comprehensive understanding of galactic dynamics. She referenced recent conflicts, proposed potential mediation approaches, and demonstrated an analytical depth that was unprecedented for a supposedly emerging civilization. Kai's real-time analysis systems tracked the alien delegation's response patterns. Every hesitation, every moment of surprise was carefully documented. The human team wasn't just responding. They were studying the very process of first contact. We do not seek to disrupt, the message concluded, but to understand and potentially contribute to the broader galactic community. The diplomatic vessel's communication systems were overwhelmed. What should have been a simple first contact scenario had transformed into something far more complex. The humans had not only received the transmission but had crafted a response that demonstrated technological sophistication, cultural intelligence, and diplomatic nuance. Ambassador Zara Lin realized something profound. This was not a typical first contact. This was an introduction by a civilization that had been quietly preparing, watching, and learning. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had just changed the rules of first contact, and no one saw it coming. The research facility hummed with an energy that transcended traditional technological development. Dr. K. Nakamura stood before a holographic display that seemed to breathe with living information, his team working with a precision that blurred the lines between human creativity and computational intelligence. Humanity's technological leap was not about creating more powerful machines, but about developing adaptive systems that could think, learn, and evolve in ways no civilization had previously imagined. The breakthrough came from an unexpected combination of disciplines. Biomimetic engineering, developed by Dr. James Audiobook, merged with quantum computing principles created by Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka. Their collaborative work produced adaptive algorithmic systems that could process complexity in ways that defied traditional computational logic. "It's not about processing power," Dr. Audiobook explained during a global research symposium, but about understanding complexity as a living, breathing system. The new technology drew inspiration from biological systems, neural networks that mimic the human brain's ability to learn and adapt, but with computational speeds that made traditional supercomputers seem like ancient calculators. Each system was designed to not just compute, but to understand context, learn from interactions, and develop innovative solutions to complex problems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez oversaw the project's broader implications. The team had developed something far more significant than a technological advancement. They were creating a new paradigm of intelligence, one that could potentially bridge the gap between human creativity and computational precision. Kai's most remarkable creation was an adaptive learning system that could analyze complex scenarios across multiple dimensions simultaneously. It could predict potential outcomes in diplomatic negotiations, technological developments, and even ecological changes with unprecedented accuracy. The Galactic Confederation's scientific observers were both fascinated and deeply unsettled. The human approach to technology was fundamentally different from other known civilizations. While most technological developments focused on specific applications, humans were creating adaptive systems that could transform themselves. Dr. Mariana Silva's work on communication protocols added another layer of complexity. She had developed translation algorithms that didn't just convert language, but could understand and interpret cultural context. The system could analyze communication patterns, identifying nuanced meanings that traditional translation methods would miss entirely. A demonstration for galactic researchers revealed the true depth of human innovation. The adaptive system was presented with a complex diplomatic scenario involving 3 different alien civilizations. Where traditional computational models would provide linear solutions, the human system generated a multidimensional approach that considered cultural, economic, and psychological factors. "We're not just solving problems," Dr. Rodriguez explained to the assembled galactic researchers. "We're creating a framework for understanding complexity itself." The technological breakthrough went beyond traditional boundaries. Medical systems could now predict and prevent diseases before they manifested. Environmental modeling could project climate changes with extraordinary precision. Economic systems could adapt in real time to global shifts. Dr. Marcus Chen's quantum communication networks added another layer of sophistication. The systems could now communicate in ways that resembled organic communication more than traditional technological transmission. Information didn't just flow. It adapted, evolved, and responded to its environment. What made the technology truly revolutionary was its philosophical approach. These were not just tools, but adaptive intelligence systems that could learn, grow, and potentially develop their own understanding of the world. The Galactic Confederation's research teams struggled to comprehend the full implications. This wasn't just a technological advancement. It was a fundamental reimagining of what intelligence could be. Kai watched the holographic display, seeing patterns that most humans, and certainly no alien civilization, could fully comprehend. Each interaction, each moment of learning, represented a step toward a new understanding of intelligence itself. "We're not just developing technology," he told his team quietly. "We're exploring the very nature of understanding." The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's true power wasn't in its machines, but in its capacity to imagine, adapt, and transform. Innovation was no longer about creating tools, but about expanding the very concept of intelligence. The conflict between the Arkeli Confederacy and the Xylos Planetary Alliance had raged for decades. What began as a territorial dispute in the Omega Quadrant had escalated into a complex web of military posturing, economic sanctions, and increasingly volatile diplomatic tensions. Most galactic observers believed the conflict was intractable. Centuries of historical grievances, resource competition, and cultural misunderstandings had created a seemingly impossible diplomatic challenge. Multiple mediation attempts by the Galactic Confederation had failed, each effort more disheartening than the last. Dr. Elena Rodriguez and her team saw something different. The Human Diplomatic Research Group approached the conflict with a methodology that defied traditional galactic diplomatic practices. Instead of focusing on surface-level negotiations, they began by creating the most comprehensive analysis of the conflict ever attempted. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo led the initial research phase. Her expertise in cultural anthropology and conflict resolution provided unprecedented insights. She assembled a team that included historians, economists, linguistic experts, and advanced predictive modeling specialists. Kai Nakamura's adaptive intelligence systems began processing vast amounts of historical data. The team's approach was revolutionary. They weren't just analyzing the current conflict, but creating the multidimensional model that could predict potential outcomes with extraordinary precision. Dr. Marcus Chen developed communication protocols that could bridge the fundamental misunderstandings between the Arkeli and Xylos civilizations. These weren't simple translation tools, but sophisticated communication frameworks that could interpret cultural nuances, historical contexts, and unspoken diplomatic tensions. Their first breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. The team identified a series of historical misunderstandings that had been systematically misinterpreted over generations. What appeared to be intentional provocations were actually complex cultural miscommunications. The Arkeli communication style, which emphasized indirect dialogue, had been consistently misunderstood by the more direct Xylos communication approach. Each diplomatic attempt had actually increased tensions, with both sides believing the other was acting with deliberate hostility. Kai's predictive models showed something extraordinary. By creating a nuanced communication framework that respected both civilizations' unique communication styles, they could potentially resolve the conflict without traditional negotiation methods. The human team prepared a diplomatic intervention that was more like an intricate mathematical solution than a traditional peace negotiation. They didn't just propose a resolution. They created a comprehensive framework that addressed economic, cultural, and territorial concerns in a way that made conflict resolution the most logical path forward. Dr. Rodriguez personally managed the delicate communication process. Her approach was neither confrontational nor submissive. Instead, she presented the analysis as a collaborative discovery, inviting both civilizations to see the conflict from an entirely new perspective. The Galactic Confederation watched in stunned silence. Previous mediation attempts had always focused on compromise and territorial negotiations. The human approach was fundamentally different. They were helping both civilizations understand themselves in a way they never had before. The turning point came during a pivotal communication session. Using advanced holographic communication technologies, the human team created a shared interactive model that allowed representatives from both civilizations to explore the conflict's historical roots in real time. Cultural misunderstandings that had festered for generations were suddenly laid bare. Economic interdependencies that both sides had overlooked became clear. The very foundations of their long-standing conflict began to crumble under the weight of comprehensive understanding. Within weeks, what had seemed an impossible diplomatic challenge transformed. The Arkeli and Xylos civilizations began collaborative economic projects. Shared research initiatives replaced military posturing. A conflict that had seemed eternal found resolution through understanding rather than compromise. The Galactic Confederation was stunned. Humanity had not just mediated a conflict, they had demonstrated a fundamental approach to diplomatic resolution that challenged everything known about interstellar conflict management. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just about resolving a specific conflict. It was about showing that true diplomacy was about deep understanding, not just negotiation. "We don't solve conflicts," she told her team quietly. "We help civilizations understand themselves." The diplomatic chess match was over, and humanity had just changed the rules of engagement forever. The Galactic Research Consortium assembled a comprehensive study team dedicated to understanding humanity. What began as a routine cultural analysis transformed into the most extensive interdisciplinary research project in galactic history. Dr. Elena Rodriguez received the first official communication from the consortium, with a mixture of professional curiosity and subtle anticipation. The researchers from 17 different alien civilizations had been granted unprecedented access to human historical, cultural, and technological archives. Their initial findings defied every existing model of species development. Most advanced civilizations followed predictable technological and social progression paths. They developed specialized technologies, created rigid social structures, and approached challenges with linear thinking. Humanity was different, fundamentally, inexplicably different. Dr. Zeralin, the lead cynoanthropologist from the Vextal research team, discovered something remarkable. Human innovation wasn't about creating perfect solutions, but about embracing imperfection as a pathway to growth. Where other civilizations sought stability, humans thrived on continuous adaptation. The research revealed a species that had survived multiple near-extinction events, transformed devastating challenges into opportunities, and developed a collective resilience that seemed almost impossible to comprehend. Economic collapses, environmental challenges, and global conflicts had not broken human society. They had made it stronger. Dr. Marcus Chen's contribution to the research focused on human communication patterns. Traditional alien communication models were hierarchical and structured. Human communication was a complex, adaptive network that resembled living biological systems more than technological transmission. Kai Nakamura's adaptive intelligence systems provided unprecedented insights. The algorithms could trace human cultural evolution, showing how seemingly random interactions created complex social innovations. Where other civilizations saw chaos, humans saw potential. The most surprising discovery came from Dr. Aisha Okonkwo's cultural analysis. Human creativity emerged from diversity, not just of individuals, but of ideas. Their most significant innovations often came from unexpected collaborations, from people with completely different backgrounds finding common ground. Technological development told a similar story. While most advanced civilizations developed specialized technologies in isolation, humans created integrative systems that could adapt and transform. Their quantum communication networks didn't just transmit information, they learned and evolved. The research team discovered that human potential was not about individual brilliance, but about collective innovation. Their educational systems, social structures, and technological approaches all emphasized adaptability over perfection. Dr. Zeralin's final report became a landmark document in galactic research. Humanity, the report concluded, is not a species that conquers. They are a species that transforms themselves, their environment, and potentially the entire understanding of intelligent development. The most profound revelations came from unexpected sources. Human art, music, and creative expressions showed a level of emotional and intellectual complexity that traditional technological civilizations struggled to comprehend. Creativity was not a luxury for humans. It was a fundamental survival mechanism. Their approach to scientific research challenged every existing model. Where other civilizations waited for consensus, humans encouraged disagreement as a pathway to innovation. Their scientific method was less about proving theories and more about continuously challenging existing understanding. Economic models revealed similar patterns. Human economic systems were not about accumulation, but about creating adaptive networks of exchange and innovation. They transformed challenges into opportunities with a flexibility that seemed almost organic. The research team's most significant finding was almost philosophical in nature. Humanity's true potential lay not in their current achievements, but in their capacity for continuous transformation. They didn't just adapt to challenges. They saw challenges as opportunities for growth. Dr. Rodriguez understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just about human potential. It was about expanding the very understanding of what intelligent development could mean. "We are not exceptional because we are perfect," she told the consortium during the final presentation. "We are exceptional because we are willing to be imperfect, to learn, to grow." The Galactic Research Consortium realized something profound. Humanity was not just another species to be categorized and understood. They were a fundamental reimagining of what intelligent life could be. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would be at the center of that transformation. The final revelation wasn't a moment of triumph, but of transformation. Humans entered the galactic community not as conquerors, but as partners. Their unique perspective, valuing diversity, adaptability, and collective problem-solving, began to reshape existing power structures. What once seemed like a minor civilization became the most dynamic and influential member of the Galactic Confederation. Epilogue. Some civilizations are defined by their technologies. Humanity was defined by its ability to connect, understand, and evolve.